Welcome to Behind the Screens, a podcast where we talk to industry experts and the people who make Universal Screens a leader in the world of motorized retractable screens.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Screens. I'm Sean Culbertson, the CEO of Universal Screens, and I'm joined today with, to my right is Joe Serta, the VP of Sales, and Michael Longoria, our VP of Operations. We also have another beer in front of us, something that we've been doing each episode, another one from 903 Brewers. This is the Space Wrangler. It's an IPA, a double dry hopped. I think that's going to be a bit strong for Joe.
I'm driving home.
I'll let one of you reach over and start pouring those. So in this episode, we're going to talk about our founder. For those that have been with us from the start back in 2013, or even longer when we were distributors, you're very well aware of Glenn Messner, my father-in-law. But as we've grown, especially over the last 3 years, we have a lot of, I see that pour that you just did there, Joe. So we have a lot of new customers that have no idea who Glenn is. So Glenn is my father-in-law, and we started this business as a distributor in 2010, but I came up in 2003 with my wife because she wanted to be closer to her big Italian family, and I was an only child. My parents had moved off to Arizona, and I was living in Houston with my wife, Jessica, on my own. So we moved up, and I started a business side by side with Glenn, selling blinds, something that my parents told me, that's never going to work. You're not going to work with family. And I literally told them, yeah, it won't. It's not going to work, and I'll do it for a little bit, and then I'll go get a real job. But that was 2003, and here it is 2021, and I haven't had a quote-unquote real job since then. Glenn was easy to work with, and I wouldn't have told you then that he was my friend, but I certainly will say that now. He was a big friend and influenced me. And the way we run this company is off of his ideals and the way he treated people. And I think we stay true to that today, and just treat people the same way that he would want them to be treated, and to be completely honest with them about things. I mean, wouldn't you think the same thing?
Yeah, true. I mean, he's, from what I remember by Glenn, he was never afraid to go for it. I mean, like I said earlier, if you wanted a machinery or whatever, it was there. He didn't care how much it was. He was always up to it. He had faith in people, and big heart. I mean, big heart. He would give a shirt off his back to help somebody, and he could definitely light up a room. I mean, he was funny, man. I mean, he was everybody's friend.
He was. He had no enemies. So yeah. He had a loud personality, which I wore my loud shirt for him. But no, he would go around the office singing Shania, and he wasn't embarrassed that he loved Shania Twain, and would walk around and sing Shania. But yeah. No, he was amazing.
If you rewind back to November of 2015 when he passed, and you rewind back to the funeral, the amount of people that were there is what blew me away. The amount of people that just came out from everywhere, and I mean, people from yes, work that you in church, yes, you expected, but just I saw people from all over that were there, and that says a lot about him. We've always had a picture hanging of him since the day he passed. At the old building, it was right down the hallway, and it's kind of what you saw as you walked down the hall, as a reminder of why we do this. And it was a picture of him in Tahiti, living his best life with two of the guys putting on the luau, I'm sure. And, there he was in front of the camera, probably wasn't allowed to be on that side of the grill. Yet here he was, hugging them and doing that. And you're right. He never met a stranger, always talked down to everyone. He would talk about sales to me all the time, and he would tell me, as soon as you get the order, shut up. And I remember the first sales job I went with him, he never shut up. And he got in the car. I'm like, you forgot the main step. You got the order. You had the check in hand, and you still kept talking.
Remember, he always had that same story about when he worked for Phillips Petroleum.
Yeah,
Phillips Petroleum. How he turned the company from this to a multi-million-dollar company. He was proud of what he did for the company, and it showed. I mean, he took the faith on this company, and I only wish he would see what he made. Created this company. Where it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember first starting, and he was always positive. Yeah. He's always positive. Yeah. Never doubted any of us. And I think that's what's great is that, even still, like, we all are still positive about it. But he started it, and his attitude and everything.
One thing that we talk about a lot, because we kind of reminisce, and it's a good barometer for us, is that, he used to come in the back and he'd say, hey, we got 40 motors coming, 40 motors arriving. And I don't know if you caught what I told you earlier about the amount of Somfy motors we have on hand right now. I'm not going to say that figure because I don't know if we're supposed to have that many, but it's a ridiculous amount of motors that we have ready right now. And it's crazy that he used to run through there and be like, we got 40 motors. But at the same time, he'd also run through and tell you exactly how much all the aluminum was, and
how much he spent on it. Yeah,
he would remind you.
But one of my fondest memories is that when that first load of aluminum came in, he was up on that truck. Yeah. He was He was clamping them down and helping us unload them. And
he's the one that built our first show booth. Remember?
Yeah,
first one.
Yeah. In fact, I think after we unloaded that aluminum, he stopped the ice cream truck. And he bought ice cream for everybody.
Yeah, there's a picture of him out there, him and Bob Diaz, actually. Bob and Barb were here in town, and there's a picture that circulates every year on my Facebook of him out buying ice cream for the group,
you were talking about the day of his funeral, and what really got me was the passion of his employees, at the shutter shop, how they took his death, it was like, dude, it was like family.
It was their father.
Father figure.
Yeah, and that's something that, this podcast is Universal Screens, and that's all we talk about is Universal Screens. But, we're talking about Glenn. This isn't the first widget manufacturing company he had. He had a company called Creative Shutters, and that company is still there today and still doing well. And my wife, Jessica, runs that company. And it's still a lot of the same guys over there, that believed in Glenn. When at the time probably no one else really did. He went about things his own way, and he made things happen. He had a vision that he would share with me with this company. I just didn't have that same vision. I felt that his vision was too big, too grand. Talking about fleets of cars and things like that. And here I am, and you can't see what I'm looking at, but there are 3 Universal Screens trucks out there, and one of them's missing. So, I wish he was here to see, I wish he was here, but I wish he was here to see how things were going, to know that the month before he passed away, he was gone for a full month. And I remember he told me, hey, everything's done. You'll probably only have to write 1 check. I wrote 30 checks while he was away. It's as though he left and prepared, and I was already prepared. I knew what I was supposed to do. You know what you were supposed to do. And then he passed, and we all thought, like, well, what the hell are we going to do now? But it was as if he already kind of had instilled in that us. You guys know what you'll do. You'll be fine. I do find myself every once in a while, there's cameras in this building, and I'm sure there's camera footage of me talking to myself if you were to look at it, but it's not me talking to myself. It's usually me talking to him, trying to figure out, like, okay, what are we about to do? This pandemic, the amount of questions that I've had to ask about, okay, what am I going to do now? This supply chain, what am I going to do now with this? And somehow I wake up the next morning and have a decent answer, I think, and maybe that's him still. I never believed in any of that stuff before, and it seems like each passing day I believe in it more. Next week we are going on a trip of a lifetime that 2 of us have already been on.
That's right.
Mike, it's going to trip of a lifetime for you, and Joe and I have already been on once, and I've already been on 2 times, and we're going to Alaska next week on a fishing excursion, and we're going with Somfy. Somfy is going completely above and beyond what any expectations of anything, and they're taking us on this trip. And the reason they're taking us to Alaska is because of Glenn. So what do you remember about that trip that you went with Glenn?
Oh my gosh, man, that trip was it was full of adventures, and it was definitely a lifetime experience. I mean, going fishing. I'm not a big fisherman, but Glenn made me a fisherman. If I could tell you all the funny things that happened, me falling off the boat, him and the other guy Jim that was with us. I think somebody, you remember?
He hooked him, right?
He hooked him. Yeah, he hooked him on the back, and it was just so many funny moments, happy moments. Like I said, I enjoyed being with him. And one of the things that he was always big on air flights. We brought so many boxes of fish bank, and he would always be like, "Hey, you come with me, man. You're going first class. You're doing this." And by gosh, man, I don't know how he did it, but we were always first class with him, man.
So, yeah.
Our
lighting inside. Now it's back
there.
There we go. So that was
Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn just speaking to us through. Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories here. We, in the sake of time, we could probably sit here all day and talk about things with Glenn, and each one of you could probably talk about the ways that he's impacted you. But I mean, the bottom line is he's impacted this business so much and continues to on a daily basis. We still try to operate with the same fundamental guidelines that he originally set. Take care of your customers.
Take care of your employees.
Take care of your employees first. Really take care of your employees because they're the ones that build your business. Sometimes an email isn't going to do it, and I'm still learning that because sometimes I do like to hide behind an email because it's easier, and oftentimes it's a handshake that needs to happen. We not learned it, but Mike and I were able to go visit Alex out in Kentucky this year. Alex and his crew, great crew. But they were such a big volume dealer that it didn't seem like they necessarily needed us. But we were able to go out there and see them and realize that they don't need us, but we need them. We need to have that relationship with them, and we needed to shake their hand. We needed to have some chili over spaghetti, in Cincinnati with them.
Yeah.
And those are the things that Glenn, that's what he did. He was a sales guy and just said, you need to get out and you need to go see these people. You need to do these things. So yeah,
I think we've talked about, with the episode of Teresa, with the episode of me, with the episode of Joe, and it's all about building that friendship. And I think Glenn was he set the tone for it.
Yeah.
Because everybody was his friends.
Yeah.
And if Glenn came to you and told you, "I'm going to sell you ice," I'd buy it from him because it's Glenn and he was just a great person, And so I think we all still try to carry that on, is that they're buying from you, but make them feel worthy, make them feel like your friend, and it's not forced with him, so.
Yeah, man, like I said, we could talk all day. Bottom line is, Glenn was a huge reason why this company had success, huge reason why this company still has success is because of everything he instilled in us, everything we take from him and can try to instill in our employees. And, we'll continue to carry on that legacy. And, hopefully, I know that I'm related to him, but I think you guys feel, like you were, his son-in-law as well. And hopefully we're making him proud. And we'll certainly have probably an emotional time in Alaska at some point, just even thinking about, we're going to the same fish camp that we went with him and, going to see some of the same crew. But, it won't be the last time you hear about us talk about Glenn. Probably going to mention something with that every single episode. This is a business podcast and we want to try to find a way to connect with you each time. And, while this was a memory about our founder, my father-in-law, these guys' friend, it's you got to treat people the way you'd want to be treated, and even sometimes above and beyond that. Be willing to see the sacrifices or the struggles that other people are making, and look past some of the negatives. Look past some of the traditional barriers that you've already set up for people, and just give people a chance, whether that's your employees, whether that's some of your customers, that just show some patience.
I think that's what the thing that I do remember about him the most, and that I liked about him the most, is that all the struggles we went through growing, I would freak out, Joe would freak out, you'd freak out, and he never freaked out.
Yeah.
He'd always say, I'll find a way to fix it.
And when he passed, and after he's passed, and every day, that any time a problem comes up, we always say, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way.
Yep.
Even though sometimes we know there actually is no way. Now, it's not going to close the business down, but we know that there's no way. This plastic company just closed down. We got to, but there's always, we'll find an alternative. We'll make it right. And that was kind of the thing with him, is like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
He taught me, don't freak out, because freaking out doesn't do anything.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. So, and that's it for this episode.
Cheers to Glenn.
Yeah, cheers.
To Glenn.
Didn't mention anything about the beer, but actually it's a very good IPA.
It is good.
Yeah. But that's it for this episode of Behind the Screens. We'll be back with another episode shortly, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Screens. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast player and leave us a review.